Let's move you on to the first. It's a maiden over the 1200 metres here and have a look at the market for this one, the Paul Brand and Norm Stewart maiden, where Sacred Courts is at 145, 106. Letheness here for Tony Pike, and does look awfully hard to beat. Stratton at 850 and 215. In a market, Stephen, where we see one so dominant, how's betting?
It's pretty dominant, Aidan, to say the least, around Sacred Courts. I mean, look, to be honest, it was unfortunate for punters. He looked a good thing, according to betting and punting. Around about 5-6 weeks ago at Riccarton, he was scratched at the barriers. He's still a $26 chance in the 2,000 guineas. Whether he gets there remains to be seen. But in this particular race over the 1,200 metres, he clearly leads multis, just crunching a few numbers. 600 multis running through Sacred Court, so it's a real important time, even though it's in the first race this afternoon. Punters v Bookies. Next best is 12 multis running through Stratton, who's an $8.50 second favourite. A little bit of specking around Lincoln Sophia at $14. And if there was one right outside the square, a Timo at $35, peaked off a high of 41, just come in a fraction of 35. But all the traffic is around Sacred Courts, $1.45.
It'll be interesting too, Matt, won't it, just to see what sort of behaviour he brings to the barriers.
Yeah, it will be. Tony Pike's on track, so hopefully we'll get a word from him before the first race on the card. Just back to the trial. I know it won a trial at Rangiora. Actually knuckled over coming out of the gates and probably lost a couple of lengths, then settled third or fourth and had the opportunity to come out in the trial, but went back to the inside. Here is a turn for home. He seems to be travelling okay. Lee Callaway tries to get him to come to the outside, sees a better option back to the inner, and he hits the line okay up the inside. I wouldn't say the quality of horse that he's beaten are anything better than the maidens that he's on here today. Clearly on that trial and his trial at T Rapa, he's the best horse in the race. $1.45, leave me out of that. I don't think he'll be taking the shorts around it. He can clearly win, and he's obviously the best horse in the race. Stratton, with a bit of respect around him. He's a son of Efraj for Neil Corbeck and Chris Johnson here, with a couple of good runners in today. He's got a runner later on who's a full sister to Sham Express, so looking forward to that as well. But I think if I wanted to have a bet in the first Aidan, I'd be going She's Gallant. Jumps from a wider barrier draw. This horse was very good at Riccarton Park last time, around the $3 mark to run top three. If it's able to press forward, then that'll be the way that I'll be starting the day away, veering away from the $1.45, more around the $3 of She's Gallant to start the afternoon away.
Yeah, Sacred Courts was very good in that first trial as well. Let's move you on to the second, the Heartland Design and Print maiden over the 1,200 metres as well, and one goes around in the same colours as Sacred Courts here. That's Clara at 4 and 145 with placings in each of the last three. 650 about Stellar Days, 424 final savings, and Exclaim. That's the favourite at 350 and 140 for one of the form jockeys in the country at the moment in Corey Campbell. He claims 3 down to 51 kilograms. Is there money to suggest this is going to be a solid chance here, Stephen?
Absolutely, Aidan. 350 trading off a peak of $4. Exclaim, dropping back from Black Type Company into Maiden Company, and look, it looks a big chance. Drawn barrier 3, like you say, Corey Campbell flying at the minute. In front of Clara at $4. Final savings, even though it's in that third line of betting, is the second best bet runner final savings out of that Group 1 winning mare in Final Touch. Chris Johnson doing the riding for the Parsons team. Bit of specking around Sky Rose, who's first up today, 18. If the race was to jump right now, it's a losing result, is Sky Rose. But back to the top of the market, Exclaim, best back 4 into 350.
Okay, can we have a Raffles runner winning the first couple of races here, Matt?
Look, I don't think it's over the line, Clara. It's had its chance, I think, on a couple of occasions to break maidens. Onto a good 3 track today is obviously going to be a favour for the daughter of O'Reilly, who comes from a couple of runs on slow 9 track conditions. We're hoping that she'll cope with the good 3 surface, but you would imagine she would be. Sky Rose is the horse that we speak of being the full sister to Sham Express. Here's Clara running third last start, pressed forward, found the top, gets rolled into third. From its wider barrier draw today, there'd be an expectation that it'll probably press forward. It seems to have been the case in its last couple of runs, but the horse I'm most interested about is Final Savings, runner number 12. Got it mapped to be in the first half a dozen. And in a good spot. It's not going to have to cover too much ground here, and if they do go hard, then back onto the good 3 track conditions for the son of Savabeel from Final Touch. I think he's a definite winning chance. Exclaim was good. That is runner number 13 in the book. She's a filly by Excalibration. Now, she ran in the Canterbury Bell Stakes last start, got back and wide, run a decent 600 metres, so I can see why the punters are going with it, with the weight off its back. But I think there's only 3 winning chances in this race. Aidan, Clara, Exclaim, and also Final Savings. I think one of those 3 will be winning. Final final savings will be a part of my $100 strategy today with a $20 win bet on him in race number 2.
Okay, look forward to how you're going to play that $100 as well later on too, Matt. Let's move you on to the third, the Dave Thompson at Harcourt's 1400. Joint favourites here, Monza Circuito and Cardrona. They met last time out and behind Beneficial. Monza Circuito was second, only beaten half a length. Cardrona another length and a little bit behind. Getting $6 Tom Brown, $9 for Smokehouse Bay. In the big field, we look further down for other well-backed commodities. But looking at this market, Stephen, looks fairly even.
Monza Circuito and Cardrona at $5.50 each of 2. At this stage, Cardrona holds 3 times more money than the 7. The interesting runner is Tom Brown, Aidan, $6.50 into $6. First up, Drew White got back. Remington dominated that race on a day that you had to be in the first half dozen to see any action and prize money in the first 3. But on this term round, it's drawn barrier 5. Chris Johnson does the riding, so the senior jockey goes aboard, and punters haven't missed it. $6.50 into 6, and what is an even rating 62 1400. That is the one, the third line of betting, which currently is the biggest liability, Tom Brown.
Okay, Matt, how about for you?
I'm going to go with a little bit outside the square here. Alana Rose. This is a half-sister to Beneficial who will go around later on from the Ross Beckett base, Terry Mosley, to do the riding. Let's have a look at its trial. Volcano wins this trial. Respin is in here as well. So Volcano's won 6 races. Respin on the inside is a stakes winner. Take a look at the horse Justin behind in the yellow colours with the red cap. This trial was over 800 metres, I know, and you know horses who are maybe below average could trial well over 800. But have a look at the horse after the line. I think that's what I love the most about this is it was just jig jogging in behind them. These are quality animals who are ahead of it, and it's only a 1 race winner is this horse. So look at it after the line there. It's just full of running, and I just feel as though today from a whitish barrier draw that if it's able to find a posse, Alana Rose, then the $13 is great shopping around this horse. It's been in some nice fields in the past, hasn't raced for quite some time though, which is a little bit of a concern. Its last run was back on the 24th of March and behind Classic Warrior. Has the bandages going on today. Look, I feel as though this horse at value can take out race number 3 on the card. Akoya Pearl's in here as well. We know the quality of animal Akoya Pearl has faced in the last couple of months, as well as Tom Brown, who was good enough to compete in the Southland and Dunedin Guineas. So there's a bit of respect around him, but I'm feeling the each way here in race number 3, Aidan, with Alana Rose 9 ahead of 7, Monza Circuito. It actually draws a little wider than what Alana Rose does. Tom Brown in the mix as well as Strad. Kate Cowan and Snooky Cowan could have a good day on their local turf with Strad and Signify still to come later on. But a little on the each way, race 3, runner number 9, Alana Rose.
Yeah, getting each way prices the field in that race, so not too bad as well. Let's move you on to the 4th, which is the Gary McCormick Bin Hire Maiden over the 1600 metres. Publicist at 220 and 110 comes up favourite after 2 good runs at Rickett and Opie Boston doing the riding for Jamie Richards. 950 for Oh Those Russians. Caliper the same price. Premier at 8 and 250. Just look a little bit further down because Love Lucy does have good support, 550, 195. Jasmine Fawcett claims 2 down to 52, albeit from a wide gate. A couple of Northerners, and normally they'd attract attention. We've got them as first and second favourites here, Stephen.
Publicist, another key runner in terms of multis, Aidan, around the likes of Sacred Courts, which we've already touched on in race 1, and also Prom Queen, which we'll talk in deeper info later on in the program in the Open 12. But Publicist, $2.20, holds around about 400 multis thus far. But in terms of single money, does match dollar for dollar around Love Lucy, who's at $5.50. So if you do the maths, Love Lucy, and when we're trading at $5.50 currently, the biggest liability out of the 2. But I think there will be a sharp move on Publicist late on this afternoon. A little bit of speaking around Ride the Storm at $23, but all the action is in the top 2 here, Publicist and Love Lucy out of the Pike Barn.
Okay, get to Matt Cross, who loves those Northerners coming down to Mid-Canterbury, don't you, Matt?
Certainly do, with our get-on sort of horses, Aidan, as we well know. And there's a race in particular that holds a lot of significance coming forward into today. It's the race won by Ivan Kane at Riccarton Park. Publicist runs fourth in this race, drew barrier number 10, got up outside of the leader, was only beaten a length and a half. Sidewinkers come off today, got a little bit keen up outside of the speed. Lisa Allpress around the home turn had a lap full of horse and was eventually run down. Love Lucy's been 3 wide the trip, so there's a massive forgive mark on it. And there's a couple of other runners in here as well. Suffragette, one of those who copped the check back at about the 1,000 metres. It's just in behind the pace. I know it's a horse that Jason Tarn had in the mix here in race number 4. I feel as though with Sidewinkers off today, if it's able to get up outside of the speed over 1,600 metres to step up and trip Opie Boston on today, then the $2.20, I think there'll be a little bit of a trend, as Stephen has mentioned, that it may start a wee bit shorter. It was good enough there, and I feel as though it just took a little bit out of itself around the home turn. Sidewinkers off today up to 1,600. I think it will be winning. Love Lucy is a massive respect factor around that horse from the Tony Pike base. We'll hopefully get a word from him and see what he thinks about it. Premier the 8, I don't think it's in the league of the other 2 horses that we spoke about, and the other one was Ride the Storm, a 4-year-old by Postpone. Tina Kominaki for Michael and Matthew Pittman today is a watch horse, a brown tip. But I feel as though if Opie can get Publicist somewhere near the speed, get him to drop the bit, then I think he'll have a little bit of squirt at the end of his race. Aidan Rodley in the 220 could be good shopping.
Yep, should be, although he does need to improve a little bit on that last start run. They probably both do, looking at that video as well. On to the 5th, this is the Sims Bakery 1400, and we see here Beneficial at 4 and 160. Very good last time out too, wasn't she? Beneficial, that was in 65. Company goes up to 72 grade today, unfazed at 5 and 185. Lee Finnis, Stablemate Devil May Care at 650 and 230. You would have thought that Opie would have been on the pick of the 2 of the Tiaka trained runners, but the market's saying otherwise. And Anna was very good last time out at Ruakaka, and she's got to be a decent winning chance here as well, 650 and 225. What's the market telling us here, Stephen?
Well, firstly, around the Jamie Richards pair, it's hard to give a lead, Aidan, to the punters thus far around Unfazed and Devil May Care. Unfazed $5 second favourite, v Devil May Care $6.50 in that third line of betting, but at this stage they match dollar for dollar. There's 2 horses here I should mention quickly. Beneficial, who had next start written all over it when resuming, finishing second, did the job, second up for the punters. They're reinvesting here, third up, $4.50 into $4, best back runner. But if there was one runner that they've specced in a middle market up and down the card today at Ashburton, it's Hoofbeat, and that's an interesting runner considering it does resume here for the Parsons stable. $9 off a peak of 15 Hoofbeat. This is the one you want to get on. It definitely include in your exotic bet types, Quinellas, trifectas, etc. around Hoofbeat, $9.
Okay, really interesting money, and especially we're sort of seeing, I know you're keen on a couple of the Parsons runners today. Matt, how about Hoofbeat?
Yeah, Hoofbeat's a chance, but this market for me is a little bit different to what I anticipated it unfolding. There's a massive over, and I feel as though it's the over of the day in terms of where I see it sitting. Pin-up Cope number 14. If you're going to ride it off on its last start run, take a listen to this. A 1-length 5th to Respin at stakes level on the New Zealand Bloodstock Insurance Stakes, a length and a quarter 4th in the War Step, and a run 5th in the Desert Gold Stakes. First up 1,200 metres at Riccarton Park on the day that Stephen Hunt's already spoken about, that it was very hard to make ground, got back, was beaten a long way. It's up to 1,400 metres today. This is a filly that comes in here with some really solid 3-year-old filly form lines, and at $26, I feel as though it's double what it should be paying. There are a lot of other winning chances in the race, but if we're talking prices, the $26 is a bet for me in race number 5. Beneficial was very good second up after its good first up second behind Remington. Beat home Monza Secuto, so we're going to get a good lead on that horse's form line when we see Monza Secuto go around a race earlier. But in terms of a betting perspective, I'm with Pin-Up Cope. Let's take a look at Beneficial. This is it winning at its last start. Beats home Monza Secuto, comes wide on the track. Terry Mosley just holds her up for about 150 metres coming into the straight, and then when he really asks her to go, she digs in. I feel as though she's a horse that only does what she has to. She hits the lead and she just keeps on cruising. There she is. You see her change legs halfway down and get on a different angle, and she just finds another gear. She's got the ears back there. She's doing it pretty comfortably. I feel as though there was a bit more in the tank from Beneficial when beating Monza Secuto there. So today, if she's able to get a good run from barrier number 3, then the price around her could be decent shopping. And of the others, the next to the best I found is runner number 12 in a Nana. This horse was good enough to run in the 1,000 guineas through its last campaign. But Aidan, as you and I spoke about yesterday, Pin-Up Cope for me is a little bit over the odds, so it will be part of the strategy today. Around $5 each way, I think we'll have at the decent price on the Copeland runner.
You just got me. I've gone and backed her because you sold it to me. And you go back through those races, like horses like Caricature were further back, and the day that she did beat Beneficial, they were on terms. The day that Beneficial had beaten her in the previous one, it certainly favoured those, coming the way that Beneficial did. So, yeah, it's an interesting one and a really nice price that Matt Cross has found for us there. Race 6, let's move you on to the 1600 metre open handicap. Next to go, where Residential is a 250, 115 favourite ahead of Flag the Groom at 360 and 130. Will be sharper for these first two runs back. Kaharo at 550, 175 and Longford at 750 and 250. Residential, you'd expect to be improve a second up, Stephen. Is the money telling us that?
Absolutely. Excuse me, Aidan. Absolutely. I thought it was vulnerable first up, considering it was on a heavy track and it had no form on any slow or heavy track surfaces, Residential, but it did the job and it did it quite well. So you'd think natural improvement getting on a better surface, very hard to beat. 250 trading off a peak of $2.90. Leads multis clearly in front of Flag the Groom at $3.60. Longford at $7.50, pretty solid in that fourth line of betting, and Forged currently a losing result. Opened at $16, $16 Forged, and we had accepted a $200 bet at that opening line this morning. It's now trading at $10. So there's your market move in terms of a middle market. But overall, the shape of the race, Residential clearly the best back runner, $2.90 into $2.50.
Okay, let's have a look at the speed map for this one, and the Open 16 we'll see going forward. Forged from barrier 3, Flag the Groom to get somewhere near handy to them. Residential does map really well here. Kahalo and LB Darcy the best of the others speed-wise. How do you see the Open 16 here, the Rainer Irrigation Fertigation Invitational? Matthew Cross.
Yeah, I don't think that Mark McNamara will be trying to spit that one out. Race number 6's sponsor name at the 1,000 metre mark of this 1,600 metre race. I thought that Flag the Groom might get the opportunity to hold up from the inside here. He's deep enough into a campaign. Had a run middle of September at Wangatui, was beaten 8 lengths and behind Irish Excuse. That was on a slow 8 track. Comes back to the good 3 today, and I feel as though Flag the Groom might be able to punch out from its one barrier draw. I feel as though it's a better horse than Forged. Its record would suggest so. There's about 4.5 kilos difference, albeit in the weight. But Flag the Groom with Chris Johnson on, I think if this horse does lead, then it's worth a win bet. And if you're keen on it, you could probably back Residential as well. I think they're the two horses that stand themselves out as the winning chances in this race. We've heard from Stephen around Forged, the son of Road to Rock, who's 4th up on a track that Mike McCann's got an exceptional record at. And Residential, well, as I said yesterday on the show, she needs her stars aligned. Here she is getting a gorgeous run just in behind the pace. Beats home Nesta. Now, if you want to look at it like this, if you line up Nesta in this race, where would you sort of position him and the other horses that it's beaten home if you bring them in here in terms of ratings and how much better than this field it probably is, Residential? I'm probably saying that because it's burnt me a couple of times. It does need things to go its way. The record at 1,600 is good. It went well enough there without going out of this world. $2.50 is getting on the short side. I'm warming to Flag the Groom here. Bevan and Robin Wilson, Aidan Rodley, we know that they've got a fantastic record. They've got a really good breed and they've got a great team around them on their home track today. And Chris Johnson, 3rd up, getting better odds than Residential. I think I'll be wanting to be on Flag the Groom here in race number 6, runner number 2.
Yep, don't disagree. It's a tricky little race that, however. Feature of the day is the 7th, that's the Group 3 Barneswood Farm Stakes over the 1,400 metres, and a key lead up into Guineas races at Riccarton over New Zealand Cup Week. Expression at 170 and 105, a dominant favourite here over Our Flying Ace, 280 and 110. Wicker Force at 750 and 160. Stephen, we had a look at this market on the first call yesterday. I think that the gap between Expression and Our Flying Ace was actually slightly closer. Is that right?
Yeah, I think $1.80 played $2.60 yesterday morning when you're on the first call, Aidan. Now we're seeing Expression $1.70, where Our Flying Ace is wound out to $2.80. And look, to be honest, I think Our Flying Ace, the direction it's heading, that it could touch $3 plus some stage this afternoon around the Flying Ace galloper, the unbeaten galloper, 2 from 2. Wicker Force has been a move this morning, $9 now to $7.50. Wicker Force done nothing wrong thus far this campaign. 2 seconds and behind some nice fillies, including Melt on day, or first up this campaign at Ruakaka. So a little bit of a move there. Fire Show 13 out to 14, and Miss Maxi Park best of the rest at $31. But An overall picture for the Group 3 feature in terms of betting, Expression clearly the best back runner, and I feel it will close close to $1.50 rather than that $1.70, $1.80, which we've been trading the last 24 hours.
Yeah, there's a lot of confidence around and what she's been doing. She well deserves to be a warm favourite here. Let's have a look at the speed map for you, courtesy of formpro.co.nz. The likely speed again to come from Miss Maxi Park, drawn barrier 2. But horses like our Flying Ace and even Fire Show likely to get forward. We've got our Flying Ace getting a little bit further back in the map there, with Wicker Force from a wide gate pressing forward as well. It does suggest there that it's going to be a fast tempo in the race. Small field of 8, that's not normally the case, Matt, but once they find positions, it'll be just interesting to see just the speed of this race in the middle stages.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that they'll be wanting to push the button too hard with Miss Maxi Park. I know it was a good winner last start. It's different when you're stepping to Group 3 company over 1,400 metres. This is a horse who's been good over the shorter trips, so bear that in mind when placing your bets in this race. Our Flying Ace, what I would say about this last race that we're going to take a look at now when it does beat home Fire Show, is it was pedestrian the entire way, and it was really just a run up the lane. So it's hard to get a line on how good our Flying Ace really is, and lining it up against Expression, who's been beaten by one of the best horses in the country at its last start, an Avantage. Here's our Flying Ace up outside of the speed, and you see here these horses are all flat out and they're just not making any ground. Fire Show on the inside, Saddle slipped a long time before this video started when we've shown it. There's Emily Margaret just in behind it. She's a stakes winner. William James is out wider. These are nice horses that just can't make any ground. Our Flying Ace and Fire Show and Emily Margaret all favoured by the way that the race unfolded. So I don't want to say that it's a race that I'm not going to take any consideration from in terms of today's Group 3 feature, but I'd probably be taking a lot more consideration from Expression, running second to Avantage at its last start. The more that I look at this race, Aidan, the more that I just can't see how Expression is going to be beaten if you're taking a reference from that form race last start. Here she is. She's spotting her a couple of lengths. Avantage in the white side winkers and Tiakau colours. She's still at least a length and a half off here when she clears the pocket and really hits the line well. Avantage, just to her credit, kept on kicking. And then you look how far in front they are from the rest. The ladder horse out wide hits the line okay, but she was just so superior here, Expression, in terms of the run that she got. I think she was equally as good as Avantage, and she'd only have to be that good to come in here today, Aidan, and she would just about be unbeatable. She's a very, very smart filly, Expression. I'm looking forward to seeing the equal favourite for the 1,000 guineas heading around in today's Barneswood Farm Stakes. I think that Stephen Hunt will be right too. Jason Tan yesterday was keen on the thought that it would start around $1.50, and at this stage he might be right.
Yeah, that's the way he priced it up for sure, and the money coming closer to where he'd assessed it as well. Let's move you on to the 8th. This one, the McRae Painters and Decorators Ashburton Cup. Just getting the word through that the sponsors have been involved since 1994, although I think this is the first year with the Cup itself. 6 Prom Queen at 190 and 108 comes up as favourite ahead of 9 Prince Oz at 8 and 220, and 1 Signify at 9 and 240 was very good, resuming last time out. Prom Queen, a dominant favourite and, well, I guess a well-backed commodity. Stephen, what's the word?
Absolutely, Aidan, Prom Queen, and no surprise, she's clearly, well, 99% of the time she's one of the best back runners in whatever race she contests. Prom Queen, she's a winner, 9 from 17 starts. She's rewarded punters time after time. She did it first up at Ruakaka in very impressive fashion. Probably a touch of a step up in quality here around Prom Queen, open handicap 1,200 metres, drawn 9, but she'll push forward from that gate, and like she always does, she'll give a good sight for punters. $2 on opening now, onto that red, $1.90. Don't think she's going to start above the $2 mark, so that $1.90 might be even still pretty good value come close later on this afternoon. Prince Oz, interesting runners, won 5 starts for 5 wins since moving north to the south. Prince Oz at this stage a little bit friendless, 750 out to 8 around Prince Oz. A little bit of specking around Signify, we know the quality around him at $9, and also Selfie, who I believe Des Coppins tipped this out on Trackside Radio this morning. Aidan, Selfie currently a losing result at $14, got as short as 13, but trading at the 1.4 at present.
Yeah, Selfie very good as a younger horse, just the 3 wins from 31 starts and well out of the handicaps here, but he'll be an interesting runner for sure, first time in the south. Speed says Jazzman, Sabre. I think Prom Queen leads them up here. Matt, what do you think?
Well, Jason and I had a good chat when we did the preview yesterday that there was a potential if Sabre and Jasmine want to go together, then there's going to be plenty of room for Prom Queen to slot just in behind them. Based on Selfie, if you're going to be backing Selfie, you look at that speed map and there's a lot of handy horses settling in front of it, so you'd be thinking if the speed map from Form Pro is right, it'll be getting back and it's going to have to spot a horse like Prom Queen a lot of ground. If she settles in the first three, I think that she will be winning. The $1.90 is probably a price that I'd be happy to throw through multis with the likes of Sacred Courts in the first of the $1.45 as a piece of view. Outside of Prom Queen, look, I'm interested to see the two Telegraph winners on track today. Enzo's Lad, he's fresh up. He's a horse in the past that we've seen carry plenty of conditions, so we'll look to see how he presents today. And Signify, who was second up, he was so good first up after getting himself into the race. So I'm going to go with the 6 ahead of the 1 here, Prom Queen. I feel as though she will be winning no matter where she settles, Aidan. This is Signify last start. There it is, right amongst it, turning for home. Sabre on the inside of the rail there. This is a horse, Sabre, who's just been racing so well for the Pitmans and Graham Rogerson and Gillian Morris, who's got a good affiliation with the horse after the ride last start. There it is on the inside, but Signify is a horse that will need things to go his way in terms of his record here on the track. He's won 2 from 5 years, trained here, and Kate Cowan does get on well. But Prom Queen, hard to see her beaten here, Aidan, in the McRae Painters and Decorators Ashburton Cup over 1,200 metres.
I make a good point too. Having a couple of Group 1 Telegraph winners in the race does add real interest too. And yeah, Des Coppins, wasn't he in favour after last week? Got one up at $21. It started about $6.50, so let's not count out Selfie. Race 9, meeting code 6 to Ashburton we go. And this one, the JJ Limited 2100. Richard of York at $3.80, $1.45. $4 Major Tom, $4.20 Bully Boy, and $6 for Blue Lagoon. What's the market telling us here, Stephen?
Richard of York, best back running. A fairly open affair, Aidan. One of the 5 quality rides Opie Bosson has today at Ashburton. Richard of York at $3.80 off a peak of $4. Opened equal favourite with Major Tom. Major Tom's remained $4, but like I said, Richard of York, best back runner, into $3.80 at that top line of betting. Bully Boy at $4.20. A little bit of specking around D&G, daughter of Darcy Brahma, third up, ready to show something according to Punters. D&G $16 currently trading off a peak of $21, gets the claim down to 52.5. So there's one you definitely want to include in possible quaddies later on in the day. But if I can give you a decent lead, Richard of York, best back runner in the rating 82.21, and currently $18 in futures markets for the New Zealand Cup.
Well, that's a push. Matt, did you have it in selections?
I went with Bully Boy in this race, Aidan. I had Richard of York in the mix, but I just thought Bully Boy, he's 3.5 kilos better off than his last start run. Yes, it is a big step up in trip for Bully Boy. The good track conditions should suit him. Kate Cowan claiming 3 kilos for Neil Ridley, who's got a couple of handy chances in today. Beat home Galway Gary at its last start. It was a pretty good effort, Bully Boy. It's in the Ridley colours, about to peel 3 wide. There's Richard of York just in behind it in the Tiakau colours. On this occasion, Richard of York carried 58 kilos. So did Bully Boy. Today, Richard of York 56, and Bully Boy gets 3 kilos off, 52.5. So was a little bit better off at the weights. Richard of York, he just looks as though he's a horse that may want a little bit of room to really extend and unwind. He's had to run in between horses today from barrier number 3, Opie Bosson on. He's had apprentice jockeys, 3 and 4 kilo claimers on his last couple of starts. So you can see where that support may be coming from a horse that was strong at the line there, Richard of York in race number 9. Wanting to spec Bully Boy though, Aidan, at around that $4.80 quote he was opening yesterday, just with him being in so well here, I think, and probably more of a spec bet, hoping that he was going to manage the step up to the 2100, but he's a very hard horse to get past.
He shouldn't have proved that last time. It was a super win, Defiant in front. Let's have a look at the last of the card. This one is race 10, the Ashburton MSA Liquor Centre 2100 with Back the Master, a 3 and 135 favourite, ahead of Pickup at 6 and 215, Golden Bay at $8, and Yamato Nadeshiko. That's the one I put on top. I thought was very good 2 starts back and had no luck last time at $8.50 and $2.85. Do I have any friends, Stephen?
Around Yamato, yeah, it's not cold, Aidan, but there's 2 horses they've really targeted in this particular market. Back to Master, that top line of betting at $3. A lot of punters hoping this closes off a lot of multis around Ashburton today. Back to Master, Opie Bosson does the riding, ticks a lot of boxes, $3.40 into $3. And Golden Bay in that third line of betting. So they've skipped Pickup, quite friendless Pickup in that second line of betting, $5.50 out of turn to $6. And Golden Bay, who's an honest galloper, got allocated the 60, gets the vital 2 kg claim which we'll need in this race down to 58. And Golden Bay off a peak of $9.50 has been very well supported at $8. So best back the favourite, back the master in front of the 1 Golden Bay and Yamato, not friendless.
Okay, back to Masters, just from that family that just keeps on performing, doesn't it? Daryl Holdenstead's family there out of Back to Princess. Let's get to you, Matt Cross, and selections in the last, would you like?
The Ecuador and Ponderosa's miss, of course, from that family aid. And I went with the 3 back to master in race number 10 to beat home Misty Arella, who was very good first up, breaking maidens. And I think it might be a bit of a mapping special here, Misty Arella, in the last race on the card. Corey Campbell claims 3 kilos. Hat-trick Boys is in the mix. He looks as though he's a little one pace, though, and pick up he holds a nomination for the New Zealand Cup. Maybe each way on Misty Arella to round out the afternoon 8. And it's not an easy race. It's not a race that I'll be willing to bet into this early on the card. Maybe watching patterns a little later on and maybe follow the market as we get to race number 10. 18 minutes after 5, so a decent day ahead of us.
Yep, Matt, $100, how are you going to play it?
$100. Well, I'm going to start away with Final Savings. I don't mind that horse, the son of Savabeel from Final Touch. I'm going to have a $20 bet on it. I've got a couple of multis that I've put together as well, Aidan. We've got 10 each way on Alana Rose in race number 3 at around that $13 mark. Pin-up Cope at 26 is a 5 each way on it. She's the blowout. Prom Queen is the best bet. And we've got a couple of multis as well that we're going to put forward for you too. A $20 one and a $30 multi. And they are here. Expression to win into Prom Queen, $30. She's gallant in the first of the day. It's my suggested bet to start the afternoon out. Publicist to win race number 4. Just think with the Sidewinkers up to 1600 OP on a track that it is hard to make ground on the odd occasion. But I'm just willing to watch the first couple of races to see how things are going to unfold. And Bully Boy around the 175 price in race number 9. $100 there. Aidan, good luck.